Hi, I'm Margaret Vasquez with your Connection Reflection for the day. And the mass readings are on the board behind me. And in this section from Hosea, we hear the prophet telling of what has happened because Israel has gone off following their own direction, their own way, instead of following the way the Lord laid out for them. And everything's basically gone haywire. And it reminds me so much of, honestly, what I'm kind of privileged to see sometimes in therapy. And to tell you the truth, it's very much of, it just calls me on myself in my own life, because you can oftentimes see in somebody's life, like, wow, this really went off track when they kind of decided that out of pain and hurt and brokenness, they would go in this certain direction. And sometimes it really makes me feel like, wow, that's really must be how God sees me. Like, wow, okay, out of your pain, hurt, and brokenness, and you act, and this is where it leads. And it's very convicting for me, for myself, and yet very much doesn't move me towards judgment to clients. Instead, just really actually moves me towards compassion, because I know when I follow in those ways, it's very much from a place of a lack of freedom. And so we see that the Lord's, through the prophets, moved with that pity. Of course, he has far greater compassion than I could as a therapist, far greater compassion than any of us could, and he knows that pain, hurt, and brokenness, and so he sends the prophets continually to call us back and be like, that's not going to work out. It's a lot like a toddler. They really, really, really want to run to something on the other side of the street, but where we who are watching them are a little bit higher up, and because we're a little bit taller and we can see there's a car coming, this isn't going to work out well, and so we're trying to hold them back, and they think that we're denying them something when we're really trying to protect their lives. And so we see that is exactly how the Lord is with us, and how he was with Israel. And so then in the Psalms, it goes on to talk about what exactly happens when we follow our own ways, because it talks about how powerless idols are and how powerful God is. And then in the section from Matthew, again, we hear about the Lord being moved with compassion. It says that he was moved with pity because the people were, he went about healing them. In this particular section, he had healed the mute man, and they said he drives out demons by the prince of demons. And honestly, I think that would really tick me off. But what we hear is that the Lord was moved to compassion because he says they were troubled and abandoned. And it's so beautiful because it goes on to talk about how he said to beg the harvest master to send out laborers into the harvest. And when we think about that as ourselves and our participation in God's plan and in God's work, he is saying to that essentially he sends us out to do his work out of compassion for his people. And just thinking about what a privilege that is for us, that we are called to be a response of God's compassion for one another. And it's very much all taken together, a very beautiful picture of how much God has for us and how much he values us and how much he really wants to know us intimately and wants to know us to know him intimately, and how much he wants that connection between us. So much we hear now about social distancing, and though we may have to have physical distance, we really need that connection with each other, that heart connection, even if we have to have physical distance. I was talking to a colleague, another professional anyway, Josh Miller, recently, and he was saying, we can't social distance. We can physical distance, but we can't social distance. And like, that's exactly it. That's exactly to the point of connection, and how the Lord's really wired us for connection to ourselves and to Him and to one another. So you are called to be a response of God's compassion. He responds with compassion to you and calls you to be a response of His compassion for others.